A very good afternoon to everyone assembled here. I, Mitali, along with Jagrat, are your hosts for today's event. We are delighted to welcome you to the release of the first edition of the magazine for the academic year 2021-22.
We now call upon Mr. Jochin for the welcome speech.
Thank you, each and everyone present here, for your presence matters the most, especially when you are there to witness a happening event. I call it as such, since the magazine you are about to witness is a response of our students to the present. You call it trying times or otherwise, there is a silver lining. And these students of Mass Media Studies, CBSE Humanities, CHSC, are growing with a social commitment, aware of what goes on, welcome Father Joyce, aware of what goes on in and around them, and choose not to be the mute spectators is not a simple step. I thank and welcome all who are present here, especially the dignitaries who agree to speak on the occasion. I deem it a great privilege to welcome the members of the management of Christ Academy Junior College. Welcome Father Dr. Joyce, the principal, who needs no introduction to the staff and students here. He's a man of great vision and has the grit to bring it to fruition. Welcome Father Joyce. Father Cedric Prakash S.J. belongs to the Gujarat province of the Society of Jesus. He is an eminent human rights, justice, reconciliation, and peace activist with a focus on advocacy. He is also a prolific writer on subjects related to justice, peace, environment, contextual spirituality, and the Constitution of India. He has been close to the late Father Stan Swami ever since Father Stan's incarceration in October 2020. Father Prakash has been greatly involved in advocacy work related to Father Stan's release, and also the 15 others. As part of the nationwide initiative, he is currently involved in a campaign for the revocation of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, that is the UAPA, and other draconian laws. Beginning 27th February 2002, Gujarat was engulfed in what is commonly referred to as the Gujarat Carnage. Father Prakash has been one of the voices that championed the cause of the Muslims who were victims of the fundamentalist forces in this carnage. He has since been involved in a relentless campaign for the rights of the victim survivors, together with several other groups and networks, and particularly with the Citizens for Justice and Peace, of which he is a board member. In June 2002, he testified before the U.S. Commission for International Religious Freedom in Washington on the reality of the Muslims in Gujarat. Father Prakash is a visiting faculty trainer in several colleges and universities, both in India and abroad. For his work in advocacy, human rights, justice, interreligious dialogue, communal harmony, and peace, Father Prakash is a recipient of several national and international awards. These include Mother Teresa International Award for Social Justice by Harmony Foundation in 2013, Top 10 Peacemakers in Action by Tannenbaum, a well-known US-based Center for Interreligious Understanding in 2010, the Legion of Honor, the highest civilian award by the President of the French Republic for lifetime commitment to the defense and promotion of human rights in India in 2006, the Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Award for humanitarian work by the Indian Muslim Council, USA in 2003, the Kabir Puraskar Award by the President of India for promotion of communal peace and harmony in 1995. Last June, he was given the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Delhi Minorities Commission. September 2018, he completed a path-breaking research study Journeying Together on the situation of the Syrian refugees in Lebanon. Welcome, Father Cedric. We are truly humbled. Ms. Jackie Benson is a social activist from Cape Town, South Africa, and a landmark seminar leader helping hundreds to reach their potential. Her presence here will motivate and inspire all the participants. Welcome, ma'am. The next in line is our academic coordinators for Commerce section, Mrs. Angel Richard and Ms. Bensi for Science. Both are cool-headed leaders and ever smiling and welcoming. We thank both of them for all the support that they have been to the publication and for their gracious presence here. Welcome, dear coordinators. Ms. Susan, lecturer, English department, and Ms. Vinu from the Department of Media Studies are two figures who always stand firm with the publication from its inception. Thank you for both gracing this occasion. You're a gift to this wonderful bunch of students. Welcome, Susan and Vinu. The most important participants of this webinar are the students. This welcome would be incomplete if I did not mention the hard work and continuous efforts and the willpower shown by our students. Congratulations to Nainika, Priyanshi, and the entire team of the editorial board. And a warm welcome to all of you to this gathering. Participate actively, ask questions, make notes, and plan for a better tomorrow. Welcome one and all here present. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now invite our beloved Ms. Betsy Denzel, Academic Coordinator for the Department of Science, to address the gathering.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Father Cedric Prakash, Mrs. Jackie Benson, our principal, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce, my colleagues, and my dear students. Excellence is the quality of doing the best in whatever we do. So with changing times, Christ Academy Junior College, we have endeavored to reach that goal faster and better than ever before. So here in Christ Academy Junior College, we ensure to nurture and focus the creative instincts of curious young minds, whom we call the student learners. Our principal, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce, and all the faculty ensure that these student learners evolve as independent thinkers. This independent thinking is very important. So with this independent thinking, these children conduct multitudes of activities in the college. These activities not only provide them with hands-on experience, but also help them to emerge out as individuals. So here we focus to produce the student learners who are independent and they have their own individual thinking. The result of hard work is always sweet. And the Feathers of Hope as a magazine reiterates that philosophy by capturing the voice and the vision of students from all departments and shaping it in a thought-provoking manner. The magazine also captures and showcases the feats of student achievers and who bring laurels to the institution. Also, to my understanding, we focus on the reflection to the social causes also. We currently live in difficult times that have challenged the society as a whole. So it is therefore important to celebrate the lives of those who stand for the betterment of the society, like doctors and healthcare workers, who literally put their lives at stake to take care of the needy. And I understand that the responses to such social causes are very well framed in the articles published in the magazine. So it's a great thing you are doing, my dear students. And to do publish such a magazine, the most important thing is we need to have a passion. So when we work for something we really love that is called passion. So if you have to work hard for something we really don't care about, that causes us stress. But here, this is the passion that is driving us. I'm very happy to be a part of this passionate and tough-spirited team. And along with this passion, they give importance to the virtues like integrity and discipline. Without that integrity and discipline, the publishing of such a magazine will be a very, very difficult task. And so my best wishes to the team of Feathers of Hope magazine to continue the legacy of perseverance in all their endeavors. So finally, in the nutshell, I can say that it is the passion, integrity, discipline, and perseverance are the qualities most important for the production of such a great magazine, and along with that reflects your imagination in that. And I would like to mention here Mr. Jochan Joseph and Ms. Binu Babu, who is a great guiding support and mentor for the students of media studies, humanities. So students, you are indeed doing a great job by bringing in such kind of magazine. It's really a very difficult task, I know, especially online when we do, but I appreciate and congratulate you all for such a wonderful task. So thank you, children, for being so socially oriented and responsible. Once again, wishing you all the best for the future publications. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am, for those awe-inspiring words. We would now like to invite our first speaker of the day, Father Cedric Prakash SJ, to kindly take over the stage for the interactive session.
Yeah, thank you, Jagrit. Thank you, Mr. Jochan Jose, for inviting me, Father Joyce, and there is faculty of this junior college, of Christ College, my fellow speaker, Jackie Benson, and all the others concerned, the principal, Father Joyce, if I've not mentioned, and so on. I've been asked to speak to you on the release of your Feathers of Hope on the whole dimension of media studies and perhaps a social engagement. I'm already told that many of you are socially engaged. Some of you have already written in this magazine to be released on Father Stan Swami. But in the scope of the time that has been allotted to me, I would like to raise, am I loud enough? Can you hear me?
Yes, Father.
Yes, Father.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In the course of the time allotted to me, I would like to speak to you on 4 pairs of words, which I think are necessary for any citizen of this country today, but very specially for those students who are doing media studies, and especially in a great institution like Christ College. When I was your age, I was already speaking at Christ College in Bangalore when I was working full-time with the ICUF. There were some great CMI fathers there, and I quite often had to go there to speak at some ICUF session. Let's see, the first thing I would think, given the current scenario in the country, is that media, and very especially you media students, have to be free and fearless. Once you feel that you are not free, once you are afraid, then everything is lost. You know, we have too many cut-paste journalists today, copy-paste, just looking at Google and trying to, even perhaps your assignments are like that. No. We have to have journalists who are independent in thought, in their thinking, who are creative, who are critical, who are conscientious, and who are courageous. That's free and fearless. And I think what is happening today in the country is very, very sad. I've just finished writing an article for another prestigious online portal called UCAN. You know, somebody who's known here is doing the work of it. I wrote on the Pegasus scandal, and how serious it is. The phones, the computers, the electronic devices of some of the top people in the country, very especially journalists and human rights activists and defenders, have been snooped upon. No government has the right or the authority, very especially in a democracy, to snoop on anyone's appliance. And I think unless, just now we have had two top journalists going to Supreme Court on Monday, that is N. Ram, the former editor-in-chief of the and the head of the Hindu, and Sashi Kumar, the head of the Asian College of Communications, Media and Communications. Sashi Kumar, these are two veteran journalists. They have gone to the Supreme Court and says that we are not afraid, but the government has no right to tap into our phones, to hack our phones, and to compromise whatever we are trying to do. We have in India what is called codified media, and you have it. You know, it is called lapdog media. So as long as you are on the side of the government, it's okay. Once you become critical, once you take a stand for the rights of the people, then everything is lost for you. Newspapers have lost the advertisements. Journalists have been interrogated and investigated. False cases are foisted on them. And it's not easy. It's so much easier to be in your comfort zone, to say, okay, I will compromise. I will agree to what the government is telling me. That is not a journalist. A journalist, somebody who is trying to do media studies, has first to be fear-free and fearless. The second is visible and vocal. Voltaire long ago said, the French philosopher, and people who ensured that there was a French Revolution believed in the power. Today it is maybe your tab. It is, we are so much into WhatsApp University that we are constantly fine all kind of fake news too. Okay, but we need to be visible and vocal. That's the second point. The power of the pen. We need to write. Look at the op-eds that are being. Go to any English newspaper today. Any newspaper that is worth its salt. I'm saying English newspaper because a lot of the vernacular media, except some of the Hindi media, has been compromised, has been brought up. Maybe not the Tamil media. And I don't read these southern languages. So what is happening today is that the media is compromised. So unless we have excellent media people who are visible and vocal, take a stand for the rights of the people, for the constitutional values, for justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, for the democratic principles, then all is lost. We believe in the power of the pen. And those of you who are young, who are ensuring that we have the feathers of hope released in the beginning of this new academic year, you have to be visible and vocal. It's good to write in your college magazine. You must write. But can you write a letter to the editor? You're in Bangalore, okay? There is the Deccan Herald, there is the, I forget which newspaper, but they wrote had such a terrible advertisement against Father Stan Swami a little after he died. And there were hundreds and thousands of us that took them to task. And finally, they had to withdraw that. Can you write letters to the editor? Do you know the amount of bonded labor that is taking place in and around Bangalore? Do you know the amount of environmental degradation that is taking place in different parts of Karnataka? Do you know how much the way women are being treated in the city of Bangalore, in other parts of Karnataka and India? You need to use the media. Write to the public media. Write in English. Write in the vernacular. Write in Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, whichever language you know. and take a stand, be visible. A simple thing like love jihad, okay, I think is wrong. It is unethical. You are young women, 18 years old. You have a right to choose the partner of your choice. There is no government, there is no political party, no church, no religion who can decide whom you are to marry. You have a right to fall in love with the person of your choice. Take your parents into confidence. Take the elders into confidence. And you have the right to choose even the religion of your choice, or give up any religion. I am a Catholic priest, and I tell you that because that is the democratic constitutional right of any adult citizen. You as young people need to be visible and vocal about such a thing. Unless that happens, everything is lost. Not for people like me who are in the twilight years, but for young people like you. You need to be authentic and accurate. And I'm talking about our WhatsApp university. The amount of things we fakeify, we just forward. Somebody forwards to us and we forward to other. Authenticity is the ability to be able to verify. Is it the truth, what I'm forwarding? We are saying good morning, good evening, I love you, you love me, any amount of times on WhatsApp, okay, that is another matter. But if you're trying to use it in a social dimension to promote social justice for social concern, you have to remember you have to be both authentic and being accurate. You need to find out, like for example, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which your Professor Jochan referred when he introduced me. I'm with a group, a consortium of many eminent citizens of the country, lawyers, intellectuals, academics, okay, from across the board, from every possible religion, many of them atheists. They are very concerned about this unlawful activities Prevention Act. And many of them are others are in jail today because the government has misused and abused this. How much do I know about it? Have I studied it? Do I know the amendments? I don't have to be a lawyer to know all this, because I need to know that if the government is doing it on other people today, they will come knocking at my doors tomorrow. Let's look at what happened to Gauri Lankesh there. And some of the rationalists like Kaliburgi and the others in Karnataka itself, because they took a stand for what is right, because they were authentic, because they were accurate, the people who were in power did not know what to do. So the easiest way was to kill them. And this is what is happening in India today. So unless we have journalists, students of media who are going to study, who are going to be accurate, who are going to document, who are going to have not merely somebody, through a Google search engine, but how do you authenticate a fact? Do you know what is happening in our reality today? I don't think we will go a long way. The final point I need to speak about, which your professor earlier spoke to you about passion. You need to be compassionate and committed. There is no one in this world who has succeeded in their particular profession if they are not compassionate. Have a passion for their profession, have a compassion towards others. And that is what is important. We live in a world today all over, and particularly in India, where we have become highly self-centered, very individualistic, and very what I would call exclusive. I, me and myself, like our big boss in the country looking at himself and at the cameras all the time. Okay, this is not about serving the people. Okay. Compassionate means being able to orient yourself to the needs, to the cries of the people. Who are the people? Whom am I writing about? Maybe I'll get a placement very easily in the corporate sector. But what is the corporate sector doing to the Jal, Jungle or Jameen of the Adivasi people? This is what Father Stan Swami voiced his dissent, okay, against powerful people who were looting the environment, looting the waters, the land and the forests of the tribals. And he had compassion to the tribals. He says, unless I took a stand for the tribals, unless I accompanied them for a more humane, just and equitable life, nothing will change. All his life he did it. I first met him in Bangalore years ago at the Indian Social Institute. And all along we have been in touch till the 5th of July when he met that unfortunate death, 84-year-old Jesuit, still in the custody, a custodial death. And we called it a cold-blooded murder, in spite of him dying, according to medicine, a natural death. But they allowed him to die. They killed him. But he was compassionate. He was compassionate to a cause. He was compassionate to his people whom he has called to serve, and he had a passion for what he believed in. You as media students need to do that. A feather of hope is about going to the beyond, of flying into new realms, into new horizons, and commitment. You cannot do anything in this life. We are living in a quick fix life, in instant coffee, immediate pizza, buy one, get one free, fast food. That's our life today. And people have told us that is what life is all about. No. Commitment means sustainability. Commitment means going till the very end. Commitment means taking a risk. And ultimately, commitment means I stay on here till the very end. I never give up. And that is why we have, great people like Mirabai, who goes with great commitment to the Olympics and gets us the only medal we have had so far this year, a silver medal. And the whole nation is thriving on this one silver medal. Not because of us, we all take credit, of course, for somebody else's work, but because she persevered. She was consistent, she worked hard. My dear students, I'm very happy to be with you today. And I sincerely hope in this great college of Christ College, Junior College, in your Media Studies Department of Humanities, you learn to be excellent students of media studies, of journalism, of communication. Don't get into the corporate sector only for money. You will get the money, have no problem. But have the guts to stick your necks out. We need people in the media today who are free and fearless, who are visible and vocal, who are authentic and accurate, and finally, compassionate and committed. Thank you very much. God bless each one of you today and always.
Thank you, Father, for that very enlightening session. We now have Ms. Tanvi V from Grade 11 Humanities with some questions about the session.
Good afternoon, sir. I have read that you have won the highest French Civilization Award. I would like to know how you're feeling. How was your feeling at that moment?
Okay, it came as a surprise. In fact, when they called me from the French embassy, I felt I was not deserving of it. But there were many other illustrious people in India who have got this award. And I was the least among these illustrious people. Okay? But for me, an award is not about me. I've accepted awards because it brings recognition, to the people I'm called to serve. It highlights their issues, their problems. It's not about me. I try to do something, but it's about the face of the poor, the denigrated, the dehumanized, the exploited and excluded, who I would like them to be more visible and vocal. So any award I get is because of them.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Tanvi. We now have Ms. Nayonika from Grade 11 Humanities with some questions.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is, how can the young generation show that they are socially responsible?
Yes, begin now. You're in media studies. Very few people have the privilege, first of all, of coming to a college like Christ College. Okay, it's not easy. And secondly, to do a very, very specific course like media studies. You're a privileged group. How do you immediately began? I gave you ideas. Write to the letters to the editor. Write. It's good to have your college magazine, Feathers of Hope. Congratulations on that. But you all must now immediately, I would encourage all of you, get into the public domain. Have your own blog. You're all on Instagram. You're all on Facebook. Try to befriend me on Facebook. I do only my social issues on Facebook. And my Facebook is monitored by many people. And I know. The point is, what are you showing on Instagram? You're showing what you eat, what dress you wear, where you have gone. All that is all right. I am not. But can you use Instagram? Can you use Twitter? Can you use Facebook? Can you use other social media to highlight what is happening? Social media doesn't charge you anything. You're all adept. You're there, WhatsApping and on your iPhones and your Androids all the time. I know that. Okay? Text your boyfriends and girlfriends all the time. I have no problem with that. I will encourage that. But use that also to be able to use it for the betterment of others, for standing up for human rights, justice and peace, for justice, liberty, equality and fraternity of the country, very especially for those people who are suffering. The amount of migrant workers that have suffered in our country. Yesterday in UP, there were migrant workers going back to Bihar. They were sleeping on the road after their bus kind of broke down. One truck hit them and 18 people were killed. It might have a little headlines, okay? But which Sushant Rajput will hog the headline. As though, but 18 ordinary workers, tribals, are we not concerned? Write about that, have that social passion, have that social concern. Use your social media for that and try to use also the mainstream media. Get into some mainstream media. There are many people I know, even in Bangalore, who will be able to welcome you, provided you take a stand for truth and justice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Nayonika. If knowledge feeds the mind, then art feeds the soul. After the food for thought, let us now have some manna for the soul with a dance performance by Tanvi V and Group.
Perdóname, te lo tenía que decir, está dura, 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 que está dura, mano arriba porque tú te ves bien, está dura, mamacita, te fuiste de nivel, dura, mira cómo brilla tu piel, está dura, dímelo cómo es que está dura, yo te doy un 20 de 10, está dura, 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 tú eres la máquina del baile, si no tienes a nadie, vente pa' mi brazo, caile, ese perfume se siente en el aire, algo como Argentina, tú me traes los Buenos Aires, está poderosa, media escandalosa, habrá muchas mujeres, pero tú eres otra cosa, si fuera un delito eso de que estás hermosa, te arresto en mi cama y te pongo las esposas, tienes el toque, 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 miren el material, edición especial, tienes el toque, 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 perdóname, te lo tenía que decir, está dura, 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 dura,
performance by Tanvi and group. They deserve a huge round of applause.
We now invite our second speaker of the day, Ms. Jackie Benson, onto the virtual stage for the interactive session.
Thank you very much, Jagrit, and thank you to all the students, learners, and Father. It's very difficult to come and speak after Father Cedric has spoken. You know, a man of the cloth, and has such inspiring words. I feel like a mere mortal speaking in this man's experience, but you know, I appreciated every word that you shared because I took so much from it. Absolutely, I agree. So, you know, what I want to add on the back of what Father Cedric shared. So firstly, who am I? I met Mr. Joshan about a month or so ago. I was doing a personal development course called the Landmark Advanced course via India. I'm located in Cape Town, South Africa. And I've been doing a lot of personal transformation work in my own life for the last 22 years, and really on a path of developing myself to really understand and bring an awareness, which is what I want to talk to you today about self-awareness and the conversations about how to take that stand for what it is you believe in the world you see around, and how to actually advocate for those, particularly those who do not have the voice that you have, and probably like me are sitting in a place of some privilege against the rest of your society. So what do I mean by my privilege? As you might be able to see from the color of my skin, I'm a white person. I live in South Africa, where the majority of people are black, where we have a history of what was apartheid, and it's still, although those rules and laws ended in 1994 with free elections, it still exists systemically in our country, and it will probably continue to exist past my and your generation. But I can do something about altering the way and the space that there is now today for people. I'm also identify as a queer person, and I am from the Jewish community. And showing up as queer and Jewish is not something that is very, sorry about that, is not something that is easily talked about. But what I'm very clear on is, you know, if I live 20 kilometers down the road and I was black and I grew up in South Africa, I would not be able to have the freedoms, although they're democratically available to me, I would not have the freedoms that I do as a white person here. As a woman, as somebody who identifies as queer, I would often could be ridiculed. There are a lot of people who don't even walk out and acknowledge that they're in relationship with people. They want to fit in because they are fearful of actually being killed for who they are, just for who they are. No questions asked. And in fact, one of the things we're dealing with in our country is that since February, there's been at least what we know hate crimes against 16 people who've been killed violently in our country because they identified as LGBTIQA. Now, that's not a lot, but it is a lot. Each one of those is a life, and we have other issues, of course. But why I'm saying this is because I recognize that as a privileged person, I can bring awareness to conversations that are not easily able to have conversations if I was black. I'm also in a relationship with a woman who's black, and I notice every day the microaggressions that happen and I have to deal with. And what I want to share with you today is really about how do I get to be that voice? And part of my access is my level of self-awareness. I have to own and acknowledge where I come from. What is it that has brought me to where I am today? What is it about my culture, my education that I have been taught that perhaps I didn't get to question? And you're in a very fortunate position where you have this program where you can write and question what it is that's going on around you. You have teachers who are guiding and mentoring you to be able to bring conversations and deal with and reflect as to what's going on in your world right now. I want to take you out, though, out of your space right now, and I'm going to ask Mr. Joshan if he would put on a video in a moment. so that we can just look a little bit of reflection of what influences us in our conversations. And I'm going to give you two examples of the same situation. One is a gymnast. So we all know the Olympics are happening right now, and it was very exciting to hear that you've got a silver medalist. So there is the first is a presentation about Kerri Strug. She won gold some years ago as a gymnast in the Olympics. And just take a look at this video. Thank you, Mr. Joshin. So the first video, what you've just seen, to give you the context of it, is Mr. Joshin, can you just stop that so that I can talk about the first one, please? Thank you. So the first video, Kerri was a gymnast in the team, American team. You see her performing her routine twice. The first time she performs, she gets herself injured, and actually quite a severe injury. And instead of not continuing, she goes on and she performs the routine again, and she excels in what you can see, and there's longer clips of it, and I invite you to look it up and watch it actually and listen to the commentary about it. But she is performing, and she then ends up completing her routine standing on one foot. And then they all get the gold medal. That's the year that the American gymnastic team beat the Russians, and there was another team, and they won the gold medal. Now, the question that I have is, was it worth it? Because she got the gold medal for her team, and they got the gold medal, but she was 18 years old, and she had an injury, and she had to retire from her sport immediately after that. Should she have continued or not? Now, I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer to this, but I just invite you to have a look and consider this. And I want you to consider it in light of this next video you're going to watch, which is about this Olympics, and a gymnast by the name of, also American, Simone Biles, who has pulled out of the Olympic team sport. And this is a little bit of the interview that was done afterwards and what she had to say. Please, Mr. Joshin.
Someone that follows.
Yeah, I say put mental health first, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy your sport and you're not going to succeed as much as you want to. So it's okay sometimes to even sit out the big competitions, to focus on yourself, because it shows how strong of a competitor and person that you really are, rather than just battle through it. And it's been really stressful, this Olympic Games. I think just as a whole, not having an audience, there are a lot of different variables going into it. It's been a long week. It's been a long Olympic process. It's been a long year. So just a lot of different variables. And I think we're just a little bit too stressed out. But we should be out here having fun. And sometimes that's not the case.
Thank you.
You're right.
Simone Biles is somebody who has already won Olympic gold medals, but she found it extremely difficult to perform the routine she needed to perform and was not able to fulfill on her real full capability. She knew her own limits. She also understood her body and the situation and what it was calling on from her. And if you look at longer examples of that interview, there's a whole one on the Tokyo's 2020 Olympic page, you'll hear her speak about the fact that she knew something was, what I say, is off. There's something wasn't working, and she rather, instead of costing her team a medal, she rather stood back and allowed her teammates to participate, and they ended up as the silver medalists. Now, that takes a very high level of self-awareness. You have to understand what your own limits are, your own capabilities, and those of the people around you. You also have to be willing to look at how you are going to be reflected and consider, is that important or not to you? And this particularly in the world of the media. There are a lot of people now who have a lot to say about both Simone Biles and even now comparing her to Kerri Strug. Some of them are not very nice at all, the things that I've read. Some of them are saying that she, you know, what's wrong with her? She is a real champion who travailed through and was willing to deal with a broken leg and actually perform. That's a true champion. Well, is it? And that's something we need to decide for ourselves. At what level are we going to actually be that aware? And part of your understanding and the ability in your media and to be able to present and deliver your views and stand for what works in your society and what doesn't work in your society, just as I am experiencing in my own, is to be willing to be aware of where you come from first and foremost. What is your level of self-awareness? What is it that governs and influences your decisions? Is it simply because somebody else you saw some things on somebody else's Instagram and that looks cool and everybody's doing the cool thing? Or are you doing things that are not cool and that are going to attract attention to you and that people are going to say something to you about, and how are you going to interact with those things? I know that I don't often present popular opinions, and I have a level of awareness, and I certainly get a sense, Father Cedric can teach us all very much about this, to be able to stand up when what we have to say is not popular, is not in keeping with what other people agree with, and be willing to stand up for what was going to challenge others. Just like I know I've had to do, and this is from my own space, come home to my family and say, this is who I love. You know, those were not easy conversations to have, to be able to come home and bring another woman home and say to my parents who were expecting me to bring a boy home, actually, no, that's not who I'm bringing home. And to bring a person home who's not Jewish, and to bring a person home who's not white like me. But it's in understanding and recognizing what it is that makes a difference for me, but also having compassion, as Father Cedric spoke, to understanding my own parents' views. My mother, she only wanted grandchildren. That's her biggest concern in life until the day she passed 3 years ago. Unfortunately, I haven't given her grandchildren yet, but who knows? Soon, maybe with my partner, we'll be able to have kids. But what I'm saying is, these expectations of the people around us, we have to navigate. Do we live our lives because of what they want for us? Or do we live our lives because of what's true to us and bringing our own awareness? And I think that's the thing that I want to leave you with as a message, is starting to understand what it is that influences your behaviors. What is it that influences your choices? Is it because your parents told you to do something? And yes, that's important. But do you actually ask them why? Or do you just say, yes, mom, yes, dad, I'm just doing it because you said so? Is that a reason to do things? Sometimes it is. Sometimes we just want to make our parents happy. I know. My father's 84. I just want my father to be happy. I still seek his approval. Even now that I'm 44 years old, that doesn't go away. But also standing for what is right. If my father comes to me and tells me to do X and I don't think X is right, I'm not going to just do it because my father said. If it means that he may not approve, so be it. I'm willing to take that. But if I see it's going to bring harm to somebody or to a situation, or what I consider where it lacks integrity, I'm not going to do what he says just because. And part of our questioning in the media and challenging ideas and thoughts is to say, who said we need to do X, Y, or Z? Who says we need to do what the government says? And I don't know anything about your government and the politics in India. I have enough on my plate to look at the politics of South Africa. But what I invite you to look and consider is, how did you wind up to be where you are today? How did you, as a country, as a society, how did you wind up in the area that you live in? How did you wind up in the family that you live in? How did that come about? What influenced that? And you have a way to decide and make decisions now that bring the choice back into your own hands. I'm very clear. In many respects, I'm a first-generation South African. I come from a family where my grandparents migrated to this country on the back of being persecuted and left in very awful circumstances, my grandparents, to come to South Africa. And they made certain decisions to survive and live in a situation where they could survive their existence, and that they would not be killed and persecuted any longer, and also to fit in and belong. Now, what I'm very clear on is, if my grandparents were alive today, they'd be telling me to do things that I would not agree with. And I'd be willing to deal with that, because what worked for them is not necessarily what works for me in today's world. And part of what we get to understand and recognize is that we don't have to keep taking things on historically, but these are the parts where we get to introspect and reflect. And what I'm so thrilled by is you have such a wonderful medium in your writing, in what you do in your school. And as Father Cedric said, it's now to take that beyond just what you offer your school community, but to take it into the wider space where you can give your voice and add your voice to those who do not get to have that voice right now. So it starts with your level of awareness of the world around you. And if there's one thing that I can offer to you as somebody who also enjoys writing, is nobody can ever question your own lived experience. So if you're willing to get out and experience life and discover other people's world and what it is to be in their shoes, you can write from being in that lived experience. You can never speak on behalf of other people until you've been willing to walk at least a mile in their shoes and consider what it's like. And so I invite you today is to start to look from your world as where can you walk in somebody else's shoes and discover what they're dealing with, so that you can start to give voice to what it is that they don't necessarily have a space to give voice to. So I hope that's made a contribution, and I'm very happy to take questions. I'm also very willing to send Mr. Joshan my latest article where you can actually read something that I have written and get a sense where what I'm speaking in terms of coming from a very different place that other than what I've grown up with. So I thank you for your time and your attention, and I just wish you congratulations for the great work you're doing and to keep up. And you've got wonderful teachers in a school system that allows you to go and do that. So grab the opportunities that you have and recognize the privilege that you have at the same time, where so many in your country and so many in the world don't have that opportunity, and go and speak truth to power.
Thank you, Ms. Benson, for that very thought-provoking session. We now have some students from grade 11 Humanities with some questions about your session. Over to you, Rose.
Hi, ma'am. What the question I had was recently. I mean, it's not very often, I guess, or it's very often, but the young generation, the youth, you know, they're having sudden, urge, or they would be loving to lead and become the leader of a group which they wish to be for the truth and etc. But a sudden fear creeps inside them that, out of this fear, then whatever leadership thing, skills they have just suddenly disappears. So how do you think you can overcome that?
Well, listen, fear is there for all of us. It's part of having like emotions, like being happy, being sad. There's nothing to try to get past, One, firstly, is recognizing that it's okay to be fearful, and actually not having the fear stop you, but recognizing that you can act in the face of fear. One of the things that many years ago, when I came out as a gay woman, one of my biggest fears, the last person in my family that I told and came out to in my direct family was my grandmother. My grandmother was 89 at the time, and I was convinced that what I was going to share with her is going to actually kill her. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I had no medical proof that that was the case, but I had this fear in my head that this is what would kill her. And I recognized in that moment, when I actually looked at it and I did some introspection about that fear, I recognized it for the fact of what it was. It was a perception I had. I had no evidence for it. And if I looked, and I looked years later, was there any medical scientific proof that coming out to your grandmother would kill them and give them a heart attack? No, not at all. So I had a conversation with my grandmother. Regardless of my fear, I took on being courageous. What was so amazing was my grandmother had this most amazing conversation with me. She said to me, and this is understanding where she was coming from, I just took her back to relating to something she could relate to. I reminded her what it was like to love my grandfather, and to connect with another human being. So when I was sharing with her that I was in love with somebody, I connected to her how she loved and met my granddad. And in that moment, my grand said to me, well, if that's your orientation, a word I would never expect her to say, she said, if that's your orientation, I'm happy for you. My gran lived to 99 and a half. 10 years later, only she died. And it was hepatitis that killed her, not the fact that I came out. Okay? So what I'm saying is unless the fear is real, and you'll know the fear, like somebody is holding a knife to your throat or pointing a gun at you, then all the thing is to do is run. Don't think, just run. But otherwise, the fear is not real. It's actually just a perception. And you get to see whether that perceived fear is something that you're going to let stop you, or you can go beyond that and find the courage to work with that fear and act regardless. And a lot of what we see, and what I want to invite you to consider about Simone Biles, is that she may have had some fear, but she also had an extraordinary amount of courage to speak out about what she was dealing with in the face of it doesn't look good. It doesn't seem like the right thing to do. There's a lot of expectation on her, and yet she acted being true to herself, regardless of whatever fears she may have had. So Rose, thank you for that question. I hope that gives you some answer.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Rose. Next, we have Neha with some questions about the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ma'am. So my question is, what kind of advice would you give students like us, not just to study for the sake of academic results or a career, but also to learn the skills to lead and support the society for a bigger cause?
Neha, I think that's so great. I think the fact that you're asking the question is the first place. And the first place to start with is thinking critically. And thinking critically actually looks like asking questions. The things I know about my friends who are journalists, and I have a number of them, is that they are not afraid to question. They're not afraid to ask the questions and look for the answers. And actually don't stop until you find answers. And then there are sometimes things which you don't actually have answers to. Not everything is scientific. So sometimes it's being willing to inquire and sit in an inquiry, particularly when it's questions that we need to grapple with or issues we need to grapple with about ourselves. Sometimes we need to be willing to be uncomfortable in that inquiry. So I'd say thinking critically, asking questions, and then being willing to be uncomfortable as opposed to trying to always be comfortable with the answers would be useful to then actually start to consider other spaces and as you say, put questions to other people.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Neha.
Coming up, we have a classical dance performance by Tanvi V. Over to you, Tanvi.
Swagatam Krishna, Sharanagatam Krishna. Swagatam Krishna, Sharanagatam Krishna. Swagatam Krishna, Sharanagatam Krishna. Madhura Puri Sadana, Mriduvadana, Madhusudana. Swagatam Krishna, Sharanagatam Krishna. Madhura Puri Sadana, Mriduvadana, Madhusudana. Swagatam Krishna, Sharanagatam Krishna. Sharanagatam Krishna. Bhogadapta Sulabha, Supushpagandhakalabha, Kasturi Tilakamahiva, Mama Kandananda Gopakanda. Kasturi Tilakamahiva, Mama Kandananda स्वागतं कृष्ण शरणागतं कृष्ण शारद मधुसूदन पीठ मत्तन कलिंग नर्तन गोकुल रक्षण सकल सुरक्षण देव मत्तन कलिंग नर्तन गोकुल रक्षण सकल सुरक्षण देव शिष्ट जनपाल संकल्प कल्प कल्प शत कोटि असम पराभव शिष्ट जनपाल संकल्प कल्प कल्प शत कोटि असम पराभव वीर मुनि जन विकार मदन सुकुमार दैत्य संहार देवा वीर मुनि जन विकार मदन सुकुमार मधुरैति साहस साहस हृदयुमती जन मानस पूजित मधुर मधुरैति साहस साहस हृदयुमती जन मानस पूजित साधव गरी पगरि सदा सदा गरि पगरि सदा साधव गरि पगरि सदा सच्चित्तगिरुदाम दिक्तगिरुदाम तगिरुदाम साधव गरि पगरि सदा सच्चित्तगिरुदाम दिक्तगिरुदाम तगिरुदाम साधव गरि पगरि सदा Takundari kukundari tagajunutam Takundari kukundari tagajunutam Takundari kukundari tagajunutam Takundari kukundari tagajunutam Swagatam Krishna Sharanagatam Krishna Madhura Puri Sadana Muduvadana Madhusudana स्वागतं कृष्ण शरणागतं कृष्ण शरणागतं कृष्ण शरणागतं कृष्ण शरणागतं कृष्ण.
Thank you for that beautiful performance, Tanvi. You deserve a round of applause.
We now call upon our principal, Reverend Dr. Father Joyce, to release our magazine, Feathers of Hope.
Good evening, all of you. Good evening, all of you. It's a great pleasure to listen and honored to listen, I should say, that our eminent resource persons, Father Cedric and Jacques Benson, we are really inspired with your words. So I'm very sure that it's a privilege to all the students to listen to such eminent resource persons. So now I would like to release our magazine, The Feathers of Hope. The feather, or each Feathers of Hope, when we release, I tell you, my dear students, you are adding the feathers to our wings to fly high and high. You are strengthening our wings of hope to fly very, very high and high. Our resource person spoke about the strength of our words and pen. You would have heard about the Rachel Carson, who wrote a book of The Silent Spring. The Silent Spring is a book is on environment degradation. She wrote this book, many read this book, and it changed the whole world to save the Mother Earth. Many of the international conventions were held based on this book, and a lot of policies, international treaties were made basing of this particular book. Look at the influence of a book to save the Mother Nature. The strength of a pen, strength of our words. We have to come up. We have to strengthen our wings so that we will come up and we'll fly, and we do. Surely we are the young generations, are very strong, and you are very creative and innovative. I congratulate all the students, the editorial board, George and Sir, Binu, for all organizing such a wonderful program, the junior college. With these words, I release the Feathers of Hope, the magazine of this year. Thank you so much for your patient listening. May God bless you.
Thank you, Father.
I now call upon Nayonika, the chief editor, to share her experience working on the magazine.
A cheerful good afternoon to one and all present here. Thank you, Mitali, for giving me, Nayonika, this wonderful opportunity to share my experience. I would like to thank our principal, Reverend Dr. Joyce, being the catalyst who inspired us to do our best as a pillar. I would like to give a really heartfelt thanks to our chief guest, Father Cedric Prakash and Mrs. Jackie Benson, who spend their busiest time gracing this occasion. I also want to thank our technical arrangement team and, of course, Google Meet. First of all, I would like to thank the editorial team. Their hard work, spending sleepless nights editing their content, motivating other students to give their content. Without them, it would have been impossible to publish this magazine. And of course, my partner, Ms. Priyanshi, who is the other editor-in-chief, was always there to help everyone whenever they needed it. She supported me and all the other teams. The theme of our magazine for this month is World Population Day and National Doctors Day. We saw many themes, but we chose these two because population is essential for planning purposes, and what doctors of this world have done during this pandemic is tremendous. Our magazine has 10 sections altogether. The first section is called the editorial team, where we have mentioned our team. Second, we have the foreword written by me, where I have explained the feathers of hope. And the third section is cover story, where we have written on our respective themes of this month. Fourth section is news and views of Christ Academy, where we have written about events and celebrations that took place during this month. Fifth section is creative writing, where we have published poems and short stories. Sixth section is creative hand, where we have showcased the talent of painting and photography. Seventh section is informative articles, where we have taken some real-life topics and written an article on them. Eighth section is Remnants, where we have published achievements of our gems. Ninth section is the Hindi sections, where we have Hindi write-ups. And the 10th section is the quiz, which students can send their answers in the given email ID. And the winners will be revealed in our next publication. I hope as a reader you enjoy our magazine. Thank you.
Thank you, Nayonika.
I would now like to invite Ms. Priyanshi Kere to share her thoughts about the magazine.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Priyanshi, one of the editors-in-chief for our monthly Feathers of Hope. Firstly, with all due respect, I would like to welcome Father Cedric Prakash sir and Jackie Benson ma'am. From capturing moments to putting out our thoughts on paper, Feathers of Hope has given all of us the opportunity to express ourselves. With our teachers' guidance, we are here presenting the 8th edition of Feathers of Hope to you all. We are glad to have such great social activists as our chief guest for the event. Coming to sharing my experience, I believe words are never enough to share what you feel. I have learned so much through this portal, not only the editing and writing methods, but also cooperation, teamwork, and patience. A human being always has some corner for development, and being a part of such a big platform, I'm sure all of us are developing. We did have some issues, some ups and downs, but we all decided to stick together and work as a team. We have not met each other personally, but we work like we know each other since childhood. And here is the result of our hard work. I want to thank everybody who has given their work for the magazine, my team, the teachers, and especially to all of you who are eagerly waiting to read our magazine. Without all of you, I wouldn't have been here speaking these words. Team is not just a word, it's an emotion a group of people share. And I'm proud to call my sub-editors and my co-editor-in-chief Nayonika my team. You guys are real gems. At last, I would like to conclude by quoting Michael Jordan's famous words, "Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championship." Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanshi.
I would now like to call upon Aditya to speak about the magazine.
One and all present here. My name is Aditya of Humanities Batch, and I am the creative head of the school magazine Feathers of Hope. First, to begin off, I would like to thank our chief guests, the management, and who all are present here for being with us for this wonderful moment. I would like to thank everyone who has put their time and effort in this magazine. As the creative head, my duty was to edit and compile the magazine in the most beautiful and presentable way. It was, to be honest, hard, and at the same time it was fun putting this magazine together. I believe our team has done a wonderful job in this magazine. I would like to thank our teachers who guided us through the journey, and I hope everyone has a great experience while reading our magazine. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya.
I would now like to invite Ms. Rose Theresa James to take over the virtual stage. Over to you, Rose.
Thank you, Jarvis. Hi, everyone. I'm Rose Theresa James. I'm a student of CBSE BEML batch. First of all, I would like to thank all of you who have contributed their articles for the magazine. While being the editor of News and Views, it was my privilege to work with each and everyone in our team. Without you all, it wouldn't have been possible. In News and Views, we collect information about the news, that events in the programs that takes place in the college, and we write about it. In Views, we put out your views about the programs, the events that you've participated in, so that we can show everyone on how your experience was. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all my teachers who have given me this opportunity in being part of the editorial team. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
Next, I would like to call upon Tanvi Singh to address the gathering.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Tanvi Singh, would like to share my experience as the editor of the poetry section of Feathers of Hope. Poetry is the essence of English literature. It is a great form of writing which comprises of many expressions, literary devices, etc. But above all, it is a major platform for expressing yourself through magical use of words which sound great when recited. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our teachers for all their support, our chief editors, and my fellow sub-editors in making this magazine a success. This magazine has given me the rare opportunity of reading and understanding many different genres of poetry, from melancholic to romantic. I believe that reading others' works helps you write. It inspires you to create a masterpiece of your own by merging different ideas together. Poetry may seem boring to some people, and some also say that it must rhyme, but the true soul of poetry lies in its hidden message and the thought process of the author, as well as the feelings that they want to express through their works. Robert Frost was right indeed when he said that one may know how to start writing a poem, but the end is a surprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanvi.
Next, I would now like to invite Ms. Arya Namudri to take over the stage. What do you, Arya?
A very warm evening to respected dignitaries, fathers, teachers, and my dear friends. I'm Arya Namudri from grade 11 Humanities CBSE, and I had the wonderful opportunity for being part of the editorial board for the Christ Academy Junior College magazine, Feathers of Hope. I was in charge of the prose section of the magazine, and as we all know that stories revolve around us and stories provide us with a history, gives us emotions, and often completely changes our life, even in the darkest of times and in unexpected times. And I hope that this wonderful opportunity that we've received can help students of Christ Academy to grow into wonderful, patient citizens of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Arya.
I would now like to call upon Shreya Thomas to speak about the magazine.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shreya Thomas, the editor in charge of photography and artwork of Feathers of Hope. This experience was totally new and different to me. My first responsibility was to collect artwork and photographs from my classmates, which was a splendid opportunity because I could engage with many of the talented artists of this batch. I wouldn't have got a better opportunity to speak with many of them as we are in the online platform. Moreover, it is fascinating to see some of my friends come up voluntarily, which really encouraged me. Well, the next part was seemingly more hard and challenging. I had to filter out and pick the Picasso among these amazing artists. Now, this would have been a Herculean task for me if it was not for Nayanik and Priyanshi, the chief editors, who were regularly updating and helping me out. Finally, I had to do the plagiarism check, and once it was done, I forwarded the final copy to the chief editors. I'm grateful for being one of the editors of this magazine because it pushed me out of my comfort zone and helped me in socializing with my classmates, which an introvert person like me would never have. Not only could I socialize with my classmates, but it also helped me in building qualities like responsibility and teamwork. So as far as now, it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya.
I would now like to invite Ms. Bhavna KK to the virtual stage. Over to you, Bhavna.
Thank you, Chadwick. A very warm good evening to all those present here. I'm Bhavna, the editor of Informative Articles. The pen is mightier than the sword. This is saying that we've all heard, and no truer words have been spoken. There is nothing more powerful than an influential piece of writing, and when written with good intent in mind and not to mislead, it can change the world. The informative articles section is where students submit write-ups on various topics to spread information and awareness. And as the editor, my role is to collect these articles, check for grammatical and factual errors, and edit them before forwarding them to the chief editors to ensure smooth communication. I've had a wonderful time working with the team for the first issue of the magazine, and I look forward to working with them for the rest of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna.
Next, I would like to invite Tanvi Vijay to address the gathering.
Good evening to one and all present here. I'm Tanvi Vijay, the sub-editor of Moments to Cherish. I'm thrilled to be working in this magazine. It's always been one of my dreams to be doing something as exciting as publishing a magazine. It might not be much, but it is something. A small step to something big, maybe. The school magazine is a symbol of pride and miniature representation of the school. Any individual going through the magazine would clearly gauge upon the principles, values, and ideologies of the institute. The benefits of having a school magazine are insane. The magazine promotes creativity and nurtures the learned skills of young minds. Any article, poem, or artwork published in the magazine serves as a source of encouragement and the budding artists or authors. A school magazine is a collective teamwork. Hence, while putting together a magazine, we learn to function and work as a team. I would love to thank our teachers and the school students who gave their best to contribute to this magazine. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanvi.
I would now like to invite Ms. Priyanshi KK to take over the virtual podium. Over to you, Priyanshi.
थैंक यू जागृत। यहाँ पर उपस्थित सभी को मेरा सादर नमन। मैं प्रियांशी फेदर्स ऑफ होप की हिंदी संपादिका बोल रही हूँ। मेरा कार्य मैगजीन की पुस्तिका भेजने से शुरू हो चुका था। आए हुए लेखों में से अशुद्धियां निकालकर मुख्य संपादकों को भेजना होता था। हमारे प्रिय मित्रों ने इस महीने के विषय राष्ट्रीय चिकित्सक दिवस एवं विश्व जनसंख्या दिवस पर बहुत सुंदर कविताएं लिखी है। मैं आशा करती हूँ कि आपको हमारा कार्य पसंद आएगा। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Priyanshi.
Finally, I would like to invite Arya to take the stage. Over to you, Arya.
A good evening to everyone present here. I'm Arya Namudri, and I'm also in charge of the quiz section of the magazine. Quiz is not something that we learn in a classroom and attempt it for the sake of an exam. Quiz is more of expanding your knowledge to be curious about the universe and about everyday objects around you. And I hope that the quiz section of the magazine can help the students of Christ Academy, as well as the staff, to rethink whenever a trivia is given about the question, wait, but why did that happen? To rethink about everyday objects. And I thank everyone for this opportunity.
Thank you, Arya.
We would now like to invite Ms. Angel Richard, Academic Coordinator for the Department of Commerce, to take over the virtual stage.
Good afternoon to our distinguished guests, Reverend Father Cedric Prakash and Ms. Jackie Benson, our Principal, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce, Ms. Betsy, Science Coordinator, teachers and my dear students. I express my appreciation to our esteemed guests, Reverend Father Cedric Prakash and Ms. Jackie, for their gracious presence with us. The service rendered by our honorable guests to the society has created within us a burning desire to work for a cause of the humankind and makes us to believe that it is possible to make a difference. We are indeed motivated by these strong views. I'm sure their beliefs and views definitely would have influenced and broadened the vision of our students. My gratitude to our principal, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce, a positive catalyst and the cornerstone to all our accomplishments in Christ Academy. A word of praise to Ms. Betsy, the Science Coordinator, for all her support and guidance. My congratulations to Mr. George and Joseph, the architect of the magazine, Feathers of Hope, and Ms. Binu, core committee member, for organizing such an engaging and insightful sessions with elites in their respective fields, and for their efforts in releasing such a premier magazine each month. My congratulations to the editorial board, the correspondents, the writers, and all the students who are part of this magazine on its 8th edition and the first release of this new academic session. I'm delighted to see the new members in the editorial board who have stepped in to carry this torch and move ahead. Dear children, this magazine is a testimony of your teamwork and integrity. The release of each edition of the magazine speaks of your success story, which is rightfully yours. Congratulations and best wishes to the entire team. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. We would also like to invite Ms. Susan Verghese, Lecturer, Department of English, to kindly take the stage.
Thank you, Atali. I hope you can see me anyway. Can you hear me at least?
Yes.
All right. I'm back. So, as you start your new innings, I can only say that you've stepped into rather big shoes, because I've been with all the 7 editions of the magazine till now, and I have seen that they have pioneered something really big. And you seem able successors. I've been listening to all of you, the kind of passion and the kind of work you exhibited, the kind of detailing, the work that you take care of, the details, that tells me that you all have the proficiency to carry forward something which began well. So I can only wish you all the best and promise you every material and moral support whenever you call on me. One more thing, the new innings that you have begun could not have had better speakers than Father Cedric and Ms. Benson. They showed you how to get out of your comfort zone, to become better individuals by asking questions. And that is what you need to think. You need to, dwell on what they gave you today. So I wish you all the best, wonderful young people. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. In the words of Lionel Hampton, gratitude is when a memory is stored in the heart and not in the mind. And to articulate the gratitude of this wondrous memory, I would now like to call upon Ms. Beenu Babu, Lecturer Department of Media Studies, to the virtual podium.
When your heart is overwhelmed with emotions, the only way to express it is through words. And the word that can truly bring out my feeling is thank you. Thank you, all the dignitaries who have witnessed this remarkable event, an amateur attempt by Grade 11 Humanities Batch 2021, the release of the magazine Feathers of Hope. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Father Cedric Prakash for regaling us with such thought-provoking words, which I'm sure will be the source of encouragement for our students. Thank you for taking the time out from your busy schedule and gracing our event with your presence. Thank you, Ms. Benson, for spending your valuable time with us and for showing us the world from a very, very different perspective. Words are not enough to praise and thank our principal, Reverend Dr. Father Joyce, a true educator, the pioneer of our esteemed institution. We are able to fly high because you are the wind beneath our wings. Coordinating and ensuring that our online classes go smoothly is no joke. It takes immense patience and administrative skill, which our two coordinators, Ms. Betsy and Ms. Angel, are endowed with. Thank you for your support and encouragement. The inceptor and literally the man behind the magazine, Mr. Jochin, thank you for the initiative and the constant guidance and support you lend to the students. Thank you all my colleagues for your valuable advice and support in making this event into a reality. Last, and the main contributors of this event, without whom this would not have been possible, is my dear batch of students, from the editorial board to each student who contributed towards making this magazine from a concept to reality. A huge thank you. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. We would now like to request everyone to stand up for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Yeah. Those who are interested to ask questions, Jackie is available for some more time. You can ask questions.
Yeah,
You can interact with-
I need to be going. I have another appointment.
Yes, Father Cedric. Thank you very much for being there.
See you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Those who want to ask some questions about your personal development, you can certainly ask questions to Jackie. She is one real good mentor. You can, you're free to ask. Or else she has shared her mail ID with us. You can ask, you can forward your queries to her. She will certainly answer. Yeah, Than Bibi, please go ahead.
Ma'am, how do you deal with criticism? Like there would be a lot of backlash with that, right? How do you deal with it? Like personally?
Sure. That's part of the journey of self-awareness, Tanvi. Actually, part of it is actually looking and seeing what is criticism. So sometimes criticism is necessary. We need that feedback. The first thing I would say to you about criticism, and the thing I've learned, is that it's not negative. If we frame it as something that's negative, then we take it as something that perhaps is hurtful or upsetting to us. But sometimes feedback is actually all that criticism is. And so I always look and see, is there something, firstly, to stop and listen to what's being said? And listen to see whether there's any merit or anything I can learn from what's being said to me. Sometimes there's nothing more to do than just say, thank you, I heard you, and move on. Whether I take it on board or not is another story, and that's my own choice. And how I take it on board. So if I take it as something that's going to hurt me, that's on me. That's not on the person, even though the way they said it might be deemed hurtful. But sometimes people don't know how to express themselves. So maybe what they're trying to say is well-intentioned. They just say it in a way that comes out that it can occur to me like being hurtful. So my interpretation to what they're saying is also important. So my advice to anybody when you're actually engaging with somebody and they come across something that seems critical or feedback is simply stopping and listening first and not responding. And then being willing to just say thank you and acknowledge the person for saying what they're saying. And then taking a look and seeing whether what they're saying has some validity to you and there's something you can learn from it. And if not, that's also okay. Is that helpful to you, Tanvi?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Yes, Priyanshi, please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. I believe like this is what happens with me. Like when you try to do something for the good of society, which is not really accepted by the society, which is against society, there's a fear in your parents or in your family for you. Like, if you're doing something might happen to you. So did your family also had it in a fears? Then how did you deal with it?
Did they have any, sorry, I didn't quite catch, did they have any fears about when I stood up and said things?
Yes, like if you went something against society, if like an activist, you'll always have things to do, which is against society to change for the good. But if something happens, like your parents or your family would always be concerned about you. So did that happen to you too?
I think it doesn't seem to me like nothing springs to mind where that happened particularly. I think there's always been concern and fear. I think the question is, I mean, it's a valid question, and particularly where we disagree with consensus or societal views, and we're coming up and standing out and speaking up against that. And there's a level of risk. Perhaps the level of risk is maybe being imprisoned or being hurt or harmed in some way. I think we do need to consider whether that is something that will be concerning to our family or not, but not to let that stop us. You know, if we know in our heart that what is right and what is right for our society means we might have to take our risk. And I'm always heartened, you know, you have the Mahatma Gandhi, we have Nelson Mandela, and in South Africa. And if you've studied anything about Nelson Mandela, you know, one of the things that he said at his trial, at Rivonia trial, was, I'm willing to live for what I believe, but I'm also willing to die for what I believe. And whilst that was certainly something that I don't think his family wished on him or wanted, but it comes down to your principles. Are you willing to stand for your principles and your beliefs for what's right? And that it's no longer about you. And as Father Cedric shared, you know, every time he's acknowledged, it's not about him. It's about giving voice to the platform of those that are not able to speak. So if I go beyond my own physicality, my own body, this is just a body. I have it for however many years that I have on the planet, and that's it. But are my principles things that can live beyond me? And they sure can. Then is it worth standing up for those? And for me, my family and those that care for me, they need to make peace with that's who I am. And that's what I stand for.
Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
I'm happy if anybody does want to drop me any questions afterwards. I have left my email address. You know, I just want to say thank you to all of you for the opportunity, and your teachers for inspiring you and having you create this structure and platform. I think what I've witnessed today has been so inspiring, and I certainly am looking to take what I've learned from you today back to young people here in my own country, and I'll be sharing about this experience with people that I know, because this is for me very unusual to be speaking to a group of high schoolers in India. So I thank you for that opportunity, Mr. Josh, and thank you for inviting me, really. It's been a real privilege to be with you today, and I just wish all of you every success, and speak and write from the heart. Be willing to stand up and be willing to be uncomfortable, and that way you can make a difference in your society and your family and the people that you care about. Don't be afraid to go against what other people think, because you know that there's something right to stand up for. And just wish you a further good day.
All right. Thank you, Jackie, for being there like this, you know, to support us in whatever questions that were forwarded to you. You really answered it with, you know, your life's experiences, and that is actually touching and moving. I have no words. Thank you very much for being there, and have a nice, wonderful day ahead.
I just want to add, thank you, Jackie, because you were very clear about many things, which in India we really don't talk about much. So, and especially this new generation, they have a lot of doubts on that. So I was very glad you came up with that about your personal choice and all, and you were very open about it. So, which is something was so good for all the students, I would say. And also, when you hear people, you get the courage. Like you said, the best thing I think out of this is that both of you, even Father and you, were speaking about qualities which not only as a media person, I don't think it's just a media person, but I think as individuals, what we require is to question. And that's something that you both brought it out so well. So thank you so much for giving us a self-awareness talk also. So thank you so much.
I know it must have been a long thing to sit down and listen to people, but I'm sure it is worth it. It was worth it, right? Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you then. We'll keep in touch. We'll be certainly asking you questions. Yeah, bye. Great then. So have a nice evening, everyone. When Nanika is there, wonderful work.
Great job. Okay, the whole team.
Great job. Wonderful work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Amazing.
Bye.
So when is the evaluation meeting, Nanika? Priyanshi?
So I think they're doing it tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll be doing it tomorrow. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.